And this is what is lacking in the whole chain of the onboardment of PHCN. Because it appears we moved from a government business that is put in the hands of another government bureaucracy. Because both the 11 discos and some discos are still operating as if it is still government business. And that is where the problem is. Because, like Azura said, if you're running a business, you have to conceptualize that business from the beginning to the end. And you should do it in such a way that you are not depending on any Father Christmas that will take off your body. So I think the Azura formula or the Azura model should be what maybe this committee at the end of the day should maybe bring Azura to come and share their success story with the other Gencos and also copy to the discos. Because when you're running a business, it should be a business, you should invest. So mine is not a question to Azura, it's just to appreciate them. You see, when we started this process, I was one person that was saying, why is it Azura have sovereign guarantee? Why is it Azura is this? Why is it Azura is that? But as you go into it, you begin to see that those that floated that idea knew what they were doing from beginning. And they tried to make sure that the road to success were well paved. And that is why they are succeeding. So thank you, MD of Azura, for, we hope the other Gencos are listening, and also the
presentation for this panel, but with the shortness of time. And I don't know why I'm so lucky with shortness of time, because yesterday, most people were talking 15, 20 minutes. The moment it was my time, I was cut short within 3 minutes. And I represent 30 generation companies. I am making my complaints. Now today, when it's my turn, it's time for lunch again. Everybody just see my trouble. Anyway, I have submitted my presentation to the Secretariat and the relevant, but I would like to make a few comments within the short time that I've been allocated. Thank you, fellow panelists. I listened to everything that was being said. And like I said yesterday, when I spoke yesterday, the MD of Azura was not here, because I had to ask my colleague, was Edu around yesterday? He said no. You can see from what he started, everything I managed to say within the shortness, he mentioned them. Now, honorable members, critical stakeholders who are here, I would want us to ponder on some things. I like us to ponder. Nigeria started generating power first in 1896. If you calculate 1896 to now, it's 130 years. 130 years, and we are, if you divide what we are currently generating, it will give us 30 megawatts per annum. A country of 230 million persons. We are only generating about 30 megawatts. That is not to say that is what the generating companies are willing to generate. BP has a record. At the day of privatization, power generation that was available that day was 3,427 megawatts. If you see my presentation, you will see the slide, but there is no time. I would have loved to just talk to only that slide so that Nigerians can see. The presenter, can you just go to that? Just only one slide. The graph or the table on power generation, just that one, only that one. If you can get it. Oh, is that what I sent? No, this is not my presentation. Okay, yeah. No, this is not my presentation. Sorry, maybe I must have sent you the wrong one. Anyway, if you look at it, you see that as at 2020, power generation was already 8,000 megawatts. From the 3,427 at privatization. Power is growing, but there is a bottleneck. And why is there a bottleneck? Like yesterday I mentioned, Embed spoke very sweet. TCN spoke sweeter. Next spoke perfect. So where is the problem? Today, Edu has mentioned it again. So where is the problem? If everything is right, I know, honorable members, some of you are already tired. You have a lot to do. This is a political season, and you're seated here. You'll be seated here till Thursday, listening to us ramble. If everything were right, you should be doing something better. Maybe engaging your stakeholders and constituencies. However, you're here because there's something wrong. And the something wrong is very, very critical. We like to hide things by sweeping under carpet, but I don't want to sweep under carpet. So, one, ponder that we have been generating power for 130 years. Another thing I want us to ponder on is the fact that when, was it BP or Embed? Yes, I think it may be one of them speaking. They mentioned that when the money comes into the market, as in whatever the disco decide to remit into the market, there is a table. And on that table, CBN is one of the first to collect money. It interests you to know that that money CBN is collecting is not a money that was loaned to the generating companies. It was a loan that the regulator approved the discos to take and put the base on the market. The generation companies also take loans. They go to their banks. If you've been reading the news, you hear Egbin has been threatened severally by banks to take them over. Several of the Gencos are receiving one threat or the other from their lenders that they will take them over because they are not able to pay back their loan. However, the loans that are taken by the discos are put on the market payment system. So CBN is deducting money that the discos have collected to improve the sector. I want you to note that as well. Now, another thing that I also want you to know is, when we hear that there is a tariff shortfall and that the discos are paying about 35% that NEC asked them to pay. Even that 35%, it will interest you to know, call the disco remittance order, DRO. They are not meeting 100% of it. From 2019 till date, they've not met 100% of it. So I sell 100 naira worth of power to you, and you're told to pay me only 35 naira. Even that 35 naira, you're not even meeting up, and nothing is happening to you. I want you to note that. Another thing I want you to note again is that 65 naira that is assumed in the MITO methodology. There is no document from government. There is no budgetary line. There is no framework model provided anywhere that shows that government promised that they will pay the 65 naira. There is none. It is an assumption because what was said was that since government, we don't have a cost-reflective tariff, that 65 naira invariably will be paid by government. The budgets are normally annually presented to you, the honorable members. And you have never seen any line that shows this money will be used to pay generating companies. I want to put to everyone here, humbly and respectfully, that the power generating companies were scammed. From the get-go. You have heard what Azura mentioned. The same thing that Azura is being given. I know one of the honorable members mentioned that so that the Gencos will learn. If you know how the other Gencos are feeling, they feel cheated. They feel scammed. They feel as patriotic investors, they have been taken for granted. I mentioned yesterday that the sovereign guarantee was designed for all Gencos. It was a failure. Dr. Ngozi Wela mentioned that if we carry on the sovereign guarantee, the country will collapse because the payment performance of the discos is very poor. That was why Embed was brought. I also want to put it on note that in addition to the 850 million USD that was taken from Eurobond, 50 million USD was added to Embed, making it 900 as part of the proceeds from the sale of Egbin. Remember yesterday I told you, I've been in the sector from 2011. So I was in BP, I think my brother will remember. And I can tell you from that time where all the dead bodies are. The skeleton, the rats, everywhere, where they are hidden. I know where they are. I wanted to also correct, my brother has gone, but TCN was not concessioned. TCN, the plan was to concession TCN, but the government felt that the best thing as a trial should be a management contract. So Manitoba Hydro was engaged among several other bidders. My brother from BP should confirm. So several other bidders, the best transmission in the world. And Manitoba Hydro won it. I was in the room, honorable members and Mr. Chairman and all critical stakeholders. I want to submit here, and for the record, it should be corrected. I don't work for Manitoba. I don't even know where their office is. I've never even known their contact. But one of the reasons why I read law is to fight injustice. And on the 30th, I want to put it on notice that the Manitoba Hydro contract was signed on the 31st of July 2012 at BP Common Room by 12 o'clock. I was there representing my agency, the Presidential Task Force on Power. I was then one of the advisors to the then President, Senior Technical Advisor. So I represented the Presidential Task Force in the signing ceremony. This signing, after the signing, recall that Professor Batinaji resigned on the 28th of August 2012. Before even that contract was implemented, the minister that was to superintend over that Manitoba Hydro had resigned. I don't want to go into how he resigned. That is not in my scope. However, a new minister came. And now the Manitoba Hydro contract between Manitoba and government and the TCN. The reason why they only brought 9 staff was because as at then, my brother should confirm too, because he's from BP. As at then, TCN had 9 departments. I don't know currently how many they have. I don't work there. But then, it was 9 departments. And the contract says they will bring 9 top management from Manitoba Hydro Canada to superintend over the 9 departments of TCN. Now, the contract says that 9 heads will appoint deputies from TCN so that they can transfer international best practices on transmission and to manage our network effectively. It will interest you to know, honorable members, Mr. Chairman, honorable members and critical stakeholders, that the moment that minister left, the management staff of TCN, the heads, the 9 heads that were supposed to resign according to the contract, did not resign. They stayed put. They now formed a me versus you, my brother confirmed. Me versus them. When the Manitoba Hydro came to work, they have changed all the locks. They didn't let them enter office. Now Manitoba Hydro could not work. They ran to the Presidential Task Force. And whatever I present here, fact check it. I am not just a lawyer in Nigeria, I'm also a lawyer in the UK. So my credibility and my legal practice is on the table here. So whatever I'm putting to you is the truth. Now, as I'm telling you, that contract was amended, and they brought an amended, a watered-down version where those 9 heads of departments that were to leave so that Manitoba can step in and turn around transmission company were not allowed to work. So they tried, they ran to their embassy, they ran to the presidency, they ran to BP, they ran to the Presidential Task Force. We tried to intervene. Those people say, we no go gree, yo, we no go gree. And they did not agree. The minister then, you can find out, I don't want to mention his name, allowed it, and it continued en masse. And Manitoba could not work. So they went back to Canada, and they now outsourced that contract because they couldn't work. People advise them that if you cancel this contract, it will affect your credibility. So you better see how you can implement it. So Manitoba Hydro outsourced the contract, and they brought in people from Bangladesh, from different places, to come and complete their contract. So, like I said, I don't hold brief for Manitoba Hydro. But let the truth be told. I cannot be sitting here and be hearing what is not right and keep quiet, because I would have contravened the reason for which I read law.
Thank you.
On that note,
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
This goes at the last mile in honesty between us before the customers. So what we do is to take, my name is Engineer Vincent Ekwepu. I'm the Managing Director, CEO of Enugu Distribution Company, Disco. So what we do is to take the bulk supplied by TCN and distribute to customers. We take from at 33 kV level, and we distribute to customers at 0.415 kVA. So we are the one the customers see. Mr. Chairman, you'll see that this is a chain, it's a continuous chain. From the gas supplier to the disco is a continuous chain. So wherever there's a break, it will affect our ability to distribute to the discos, to the customers. For example, just look at what happened yesterday and some part of today. There was a time there was no supply here, and what you normally have to do is to, a code disco. What is the code disco doing? Are they not recognizing that there's a very important function happening here? Why should there be no supply? But for us, as a disco, to maintain supply in such a big occasion, we don't only need to maintain our line, we need to interface with TCN. TCN must guarantee that this supply will not be taken off from their end. And then TCN will also have to tell you that they also need to look at the system and see if there's no issue that has to do with system disturbances. Okay, so for us to maintain supply and guarantee that this occasion will have good supply and constant supply within the time we are going to have this meeting, this value chain has to be maintained. That's the only way it can work. So that is what is really happening. So when we took over this, the value chain, that's the discourse value chain, what we did was to invest, first of all, wanted to map our customer base. We invested in GIS-enabled customer enumeration. And what came out of this enumeration were very instructive, Mr. Chairman. We saw that aside from what we had, we are giving to government as our metering gap. We now start seeing there are people connected to people connected to people. So you have a supply. You are the one in the main house. You are giving your neighbor supply at the back. Your neighbor at the supply, the neighbor also have given somebody else. So when you now quantify the total number of metering gap, it became exponential. So that is the reason why we are having this so much metering gap. Aside from the fact that government has invested through CAPME, through MAP, the DISCO also started having vendor financing. We also had to do with investing also some meters. But the gap was so huge that we needed government intervention. And government is really doing that. We also had to go into automation. Because the second thing we did was to bring visibility to the network. Before now, we remember how it used to be, that you hardly will know what is happening in the system. So what we had to do was to invest in automation. Like I can tell you that ECO has a SCADA, where they can actually switch off their customers from various injection substations. Some other discos also have various automation. We have CIS, customer interface system. We have so many automations like OMS. We also have outage management systems from various discos. That's what you want. And the essence is to bring visibility of the network to the customers, to the disco. So if there's something happening in the network, we can easily see it and deal with it. And we also invested in network infrastructure. But some of these things don't become so easy or visible when you are investing and we are having problem in the upstream. You can invest, like injection substations is where we have the bulk transformers for a disco. You have injection substation, then you now have the smaller transformers that are very close to us. So if you invest in injection substation, and after investing